edition of the Perfect Wedding Guide Luncheon. But we're virtual again, but that's okay, that's great. We're glad that you're here. We have got a great meeting planned today for you. I think you're gonna walk away inspired, and you're also gonna learn a lot because we've got some great ladies here to share with you some information. I don't wanna steal all the thunder about that, but you're gonna find out real soon. Lots of stuff is going on. This is a very busy weekend for wedding shows. We've got a wedding show at the Manor House in Mason. It's a Claiborne production show. This Sunday, there's one in Columbus as well. And then coming up on April 25th, the Perfect Wedding Guide show right here at the Galleria Event and Convention Center at the Event Connections building in Dayton. And then there's an after hours bridal show in Cincinnati on April 29th. So it's still wedding show season. A lot of these shows you can still get into. So make sure you're reaching out to those producers, and we will help you do that if you need that help. We want to say thanks to the Benison and to Yvonne. We were at the Benison show on Sunday and had a great time. About 60 different brides were registered for that. We had a lot of fun giving away prizes, and the brides walked away with a great wealth of information from all those vendors that were there. So thanks again, Yvonne, for inviting us to help you with that. Before we jump into the meat of the meeting, I want to pass the microphone over to Kirsten Bryant. Kirsten is one of our great people here at PWG and all the other associate companies we're involved in. Kirsten's going to talk just a minute to you about some of the things that we can do for you here. Kirsten.
Thanks, Greg. Like he said, my name is Kirsten Bryant. I wanted to introduce you guys to our company called TEC Event Services. We actually offer ceremony coordination, day of coordination, and so we just want you guys to be aware of this so that if you have a couple in need of these services, you can kind of pass us along to them. We also offer all-inclusive to-go reception packages where they are able to get a wedding all in one package. So you're getting, you know, your DJ, your catering, your linens, and then we are setting up and tearing down for them as well as doing the coordination for them with that package. So yeah, we just wanted to introduce you to TEC Event Services.
Awesome, thanks, Kirsten. Our goal with the PWG Luncheons is to go live in real life and share a meal together in June. So hopefully we'll be able to meet that goal. Obviously, May is going to be another virtual meeting. But again, we're hoping to go live in June. And if you would like to participate in one of our live luncheons, if you are a venue or have connections to a venue, reach out to us, let us know that so we can get you on the schedule for the future luncheons to come. This time I'm going to pass the microphone over to Emily Monifo. Emily, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hello, we are so excited to be joining with you guys again this month. This month we are doing something different. We have invited some brides to join us. We hope that today is very beneficial and helpful to you. We're going to be doing a brides panel where we're going to be asking questions that some of you have submitted, and we're just going to be talking to them about their planning process, how they've been doing it, and we're just hoping to find some just more insight about what brides are looking for right now and how they're doing their planning. So we have some girls here in our the Galleria today up here in Dayton. We have 4 ladies, and we also have someone joining us from her home office. So we are glad to be here. We're going to get started by having the girls just introduce themselves and kind of just give you an idea of what kind of wedding they are planning. So Yolanda, do you want to start us off?
Yes. All right, so I am Yolanda Fisher, and I actually just got married in November, so November 7th of 2020. I had 180 guests at my wedding, and it was on a private property, a tented, fancy, I'd say a little bit of bling type of wedding, and it was great. It was perfect.
Good afternoon, I guess. My name is Jessica Brown. I'm getting married October 2nd this year, coming up, and we are getting married at Cedar Bay Farm. It is a beautiful new spot in Lebanon, Ohio, and we are also outdoors, but we are going with more of the rustic, classy rustic feel is what we're going for, and we have around 230 guests.
Great. I'm Sarah Guckenberger. I'm getting married on June 19th this summer. We are having the ceremony at Covenant First Presbyterian Church in downtown Cincinnati. And then we're doing the ceremony or the reception at the Oasis Center in Loveland, Ohio. We're super excited. It's supposed to be about 200 to 250 guests supposed to be attending. So we're excited about that. And we are shooting for a very classy, formal wedding. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Gibson. I'm also getting married October 2nd of this year. Our wedding will be on private property. It's more of a rustic boho, but keeping it very classy. And our wedding size is about roughly 400.
Wow, that's big. All right, Laura, what about you?
Hi, I'm Laura Griffin. I'm getting married July 24th at the Phoenix in downtown Cincinnati. There's going to be about 200 to 240 people. We're going for more of a glamour, old Hollywood feel.
I love it. So I love that all of you are kind of doing something different from each other and unique, but we have a lot of big weddings. So that's fun. You guys have lots of friends. So we're going to start off with just asking some questions about the planning process. I'd love to find out more about how long it's been taking you to plan your weddings or how long it took you to plan your wedding. And just more about where you've been doing your research. Where are you finding the vendors that you're working with and just how that process has been. So feel free, anyone can jump in and start with that.
I would say I did a lot of my wedding planning through the Knot. It's an app. It was fantastic. And I found a lot of vendors and venues through there. And then from there, getting like a rough idea of what could be in my budget and what isn't in my budget, I kind of did the rest of my research online. Just Googled a lot of places and just started taking things down from my list. You know, the more I looked into the pictures of the places or, you know, the specific prices of certain meals I was more interested in than others, or for photographers, if I wasn't really interested in their style. Yeah, that's honestly been my biggest takeaway from wedding planning.
For myself, I have been connected to the Event Connections for a long time. So almost all of my vendors were actually Event Connection vendors that I've had in mind for a long time. So I was able to probably book and plan everybody within about a month of getting my wedding date. And I have worked with many of the vendors before, so I knew how they worked with other vendors. I knew their style. I knew the quality. So for me, I was very confident in the people that I chose. And it was easier for me, I think, because of that.
How long did you take to plan? You said a month, but I mean, how long had you been engaged?
It was about 11 months from engagement to wedding date. But as soon as I had a date, I knew that with such a short window, I needed to get my vendors confirmed and deposits down, because a lot of times people have a year to a year and a half to plan. So I jumped on as fast as possible.
Cool. I would say I did the same thing. Got engaged about middle December, and especially coming off of 2020, I was kind of worried if people were going to be booked up because they had to push weddings back. And also given my size of wedding, that played a big factor into things. So I would say it is May now, and the only thing I don't have booked is flowers. Everything else is finished, including all outfits for everybody, including flower girls and little ring bearers. But the Knot was an amazing thing. I've looked up so many things on that. I'm actually doing engagement pictures in 2 weeks in Nashville. And so I just started Googling and looking up on the Knot, like who was good price-wise and stuff like that. And it helped narrow a lot of things down.
I used Zula for mine. I tried using the Knot, but for some reason, the website didn't work for like a month, and I have no idea why. So I moved to Zola, which I absolutely love. And my sister is a florist, so she knows a bunch of people, and then Rhonda, of course. So it really helped out from like word of mouth for like photography and DJs and stuff like that. And it also helped because I was in 8 weddings. So I knew like what I wanted and what I didn't want for my wedding. So it made it really easy to plan.
Me?
Yeah.
So I got engaged this past October, so it was pretty much exactly 1 year until our wedding. And I, like you guys, used the knot, also wedding wire. And I knew that I wanted to use party pleasers for my DJ. So having Emily really helped me out at first too. I think the hardest thing for me was the venue, because I didn't realize that like 2 to 250 was a big number. I thought that was pretty average. So it was really difficult for me to find an outdoor venue in the middle of like the 275 Dayton area that would allow the 250, and with like multiple choices for ceremonies. A lot of places had like a very specific spot and it wasn't the thing that I pictured. So I think that was, I mean, pretty good for me for that.
Yeah. Did any of you guys attend bridal shows or anything to help with finding a vendor? And what were those experiences like, or how were those beneficial to you?
I've been to 2 different bridal shows so far, one in Cincinnati and then the one in Kettering. The one in Cincinnati was very large, and I just, even though like I felt like when I went in, I had a lot of things planned out. Big thing is Kirsten, that you met her, she's coordinating a lot for my wedding, so that helps a lot. But so she's giving me a lot of ideas, but it's still like going in and seeing other people's ideas to like kind of bring into mine. It's opened my eyes a lot to things. One thing that I also enjoyed was all the cake testings and stuff like that. Those are always fun. Those are funny.
I only went to one bridal show. Me and my sister were actually planning our weddings at the same time. So she got married in May 2020. So we just went to the primetime bridal open house. And for me, I knew a lot of vendors already, but my sister didn't. So I didn't want something overwhelming for her. And I love that you got to see all of the vendors and like their services in person. And then also it wasn't so large that you just felt like you were getting lost in the mix of it. So that was a really good experience for us.
I also went to a lot of different bridal shows. Like any one that I saw, I just put on our calendar and we went, just for fun. And the first one I went to was literally like a week after we got engaged. And that was a whirlwind. And that was when I realized the wedding industry was so big. And at that point, I was like, okay, I need to go into each wedding show with a very specific vendor in mind to look at. And so I think that helped after a while, realizing, okay, I'm going to go to this one just to look at photography and videography. And I'm going to go to this one just to look at caterers. So having like a more pinpoint of what I was looking for helped a lot at the end of the wedding show process.
Wow, that's great. As you began to meet vendors and talk with them about planning and stuff, were there vendors that helped make recommendations for you? And did that help you link you to other people? Was that beneficial? Or I guess, was there anybody else in your life that really gave you strong recommendations that kind of helped you plan?
I'm very unique to this because I plan weddings on the side. So I refer my own vendors.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, you good?
No, I was just gonna say, I used Emily as like my sounding board. And I think typically a lot of places you would use your venue, but my venue is brand new. So it's kind of fun going through the process of finding other vendors with my venue being a new venue.
Yeah, and like I said, I've used Kirsten a lot, and we grew up together, so I was like no hesitation in texting her, like, I need help. And then Greg also helped a lot with things, finding the caterer, just because given the size, and also we're doing a little bit of a twist on it. I remember my fiance, right when we got married, he's like, no barbecue or tacos, because we've been to 10 weddings with barbecues and tacos. And I was like, okay. So we're doing a home style, like chicken and dumplings pie instead of cake, and that kind of stuff. So trying to incorporate what we wanted, and finding the right people. I know Greg and Kirsten helped a lot with that.
I found that a lot of venues that I was looking at had only like a required list of vendors, which was both somewhat helpful, but also somewhat frustrating, because a lot of the venues that I was looking at that were within my price range were like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And then I'd get to the required list of vendors and I was like, and I can't afford it anymore. So that for me was actually kind of a frustrating process, but I ended up finding a really great, venue. I found the Oasis Center, and they had so many different places that they, let you choose from. And it wasn't just a set list. So it made it feel more flexible, more personal to me. So I could choose, something that I'm interested in, or maybe I'm interested, like we're doing a morning wedding. So it's going to be just a different foods that we're going to have. It's not going to be the typical like pasta or dumplings or steak or whatever that might be. It's going to be something like, okay, so we're going to have eggs, we're going to have a breakfast bar, we're going to have, fruits and a parfait and things like that. And so finding a right mix of vendors was a good and frustrating process. But yeah, I ended up really enjoying the venue that we chose and the places that they had. So that was nice.
Laura, do you want to add anything to that since you're at another venue?
So with our venue, luckily my fiance, he belongs to the company, the Phoenix company. So it was really nice for us to, because they already had like a list of people, vendors to go out and, ask them. So it was really easy for us. And then with my sister being a florist, and then she knew people, and with Rhonda knowing people, we were blessed. It was so simple for us. So that's pretty much how we used it, just word of mouth.
Well, that's good. So in choosing your venue, like, why did you choose it? What was, I guess, important about that location that you chose? And then did you make any changes on your venue because of the COVID situation that we're all kind of in right now? Was that kind of part of your decision process?
So I will start with that since I did have my wedding last year. We chose originally, our plan was for the Grand Hall downtown Dayton. It was a newer venue. It was one that I hadn't planned a wedding in yet. So I was extremely excited about it. My fiance, my husband now, loved it. He loved the bank vault. So we were excited to incorporate that into our planning. And then once COVID started and we had to start rethinking a new plan, we ended up going with private property, putting up a tent, and then being able to create the whole vision of what I wanted from the ground up, because I really wanted the formal, fun, blingy, extra type of wedding, and I didn't want to fit into another type of venue. So COVID obviously affected where I had my wedding, but it turned out to be a really great fit for us. And the original venue would have been a great fit as well. So we did have to make adjustments.
For me, we always have wanted our wedding outdoors. So no, it didn't really hinder us at all. We were open to having like an actual barn venue and then just getting married outdoors and going inside the barn venue. But we love our location. Like Cedar Bay Farm has a really good property, and we're really excited about our tent reception. So no, I don't think COVID hindered us at all.
Yeah, I would say that COVID hindered probably my wedding primarily just in finding a space that could be spread out. Just in case things did happen, I didn't want to have to re-plan everything, because that was something that would stress me out just because I'm such a detail person. So because of that, I really wanted to have a backup for my backup, just in case. So I ended up finding a place that, obviously fit that need, that they could expand into different rooms. They could, make it smaller, even if there was a smaller group of people who wanted to come if COVID was still bad. Or let's say I need to shrink down the people anyways because of that. So because of that, I really valued the place that we had, because it could feel intimate, or it could feel large, and it could feel spread out. So that for me was the biggest thing.
With mine, we picked private property. I actually had it picked the second year me and my fiance started dating, and we've been together a little over 6, was his parents' house. They have a beautiful property, and we're actually getting married under this massive sycamore tree. And I've always wanted, and I know he's fine with it too, being outside. So with COVID, I was like, hopefully that we can still have the size we wanted. And if not, obviously we have the space. So I'd say it didn't render us very much. So ceremony will be down by the sycamore tree, and then there's a little bit of a hill, and there'll be a tent reception, but it's also right up against a beautiful barn. So we have a lot of flexibility in that, which is really nice.
At first we wanted to do an outdoor wedding, but we weren't sure with like the cicadas coming this year, and our wedding is in July. We weren't sure if they were going to like linger around. So we're like, I don't know if we want cicadas in our food and stuff like that. So we decided to go with the Phoenix, because we also did want something downtown, because we're having a lot of people from out of town who've never been to Cincinnati, and we wanted something central so they can view the whole city while they're here.
I didn't think about cicadas.
Right. Yeah. All kinds of things to think about this year that typical brides in the past have not had to really think about. I just want to remind you guys that are joining us on Zoom, if you have questions that would kind of piggyback off of something we've already asked, feel free to add that to the chat, and then we'll try to incorporate those in our conversation that we're having. Let's go ahead and start talking more about choices. So when you were looking at vendors, who was your highest priority to book? Outside of your venue, we kind of typically a lot of brides start with the venue because that kind of sets the date and the tone for it. But outside of that, who was your highest priority to book or to purchase or to find or to figure out?
I'd say for me at least was photographer, because if I spend the most money on anything, I've always known I wanted photography because it's something that stays with you forever. And so, but also there's a budget, and then photographers get booked out, I feel like, so quickly. So I had a list of about 10 to 15 photographers that I have found over a long period of time, even before I was engaged, and then after I was engaged. And so I just started going down the list and messaging them and asking, like, price-wise, if the date was available, and different things like that. But yeah, photographer was like my number one or number two next to venue, but I wanted that booked right away.
Photography was my first one, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Mine was photography and videography, because having a 10-2 date is like one of the hot dates. So every single person, I feel like, was booked, no matter what the vendor was. A lot of people were booked for my date.
Yeah, I would also say photography, just because, again, it lasts a lifetime, and I want to be able to remember every part, no matter if it was something I didn't plan for or something that I did. I wanted to remember it all and just have that to look back on.
And that was the same for me too.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Wow, very interesting. If you had one driving reason to hire a vendor, what was your strongest reason? So that could be any vendor, whether it was food, catering, or even the location you went to pick out your dress. What were some of the driving reasons you chose the places you went and visited, or the people that you've decided to use for your wedding day?
I would say having good communication and being fairly quick. I mean, I know people are busy, but if it takes me several tries to get a response from somebody, I'm probably moving on to the next one, or I'm going to start getting frustrated if I've already booked with that person. So I would say having great communication skills, even if they don't have the answer, but at least acknowledgement is probably the most important thing to me.
We were really unique that we wanted to try to bring in as many Christians, as many believers as we could in our process, because this day is truly about like us becoming one under God. So all of our vendors we are trying to have are Christians. So that was fun, because it was a weird question that a lot of vendors hadn't gotten before. And it helped us knowing like that we, I don't know, we had that like immediate connection with people, and we knew that they were going to be praying over our wedding for us, alongside us, and praying for the weather, because it is all outdoors. So that was like a big thing for us. And then I think obviously like price was another one. If they were way out of our budget, like we just didn't look at them, or if they were in our budget and we liked them, we obviously would look at them.
Yeah, I would say probably my first stipulation was that, can you fit into the budget? And then my second one was, how do they interact with me? And my mom was a part of the process with me, which was super helpful for some things, and other things it was a tug of war, which is interesting, you know. And so meeting with somebody, whether that's a photographer, a videographer, or, you know, the people that are going to be doing our food, I wanted to make sure that not only would they, you know, consider my desires, but also consider my mom, since she's wanting to be a part of this experience with me. And so I wanted somebody who was considerate of those things, and also could figure out what's a happy medium, and also, you know, could figure that out with us. So I thought that was pretty important to us.
I would say going into all my vendors mainly was if they can handle the size of our wedding. That was a big one because when I tell people 400, their head spins a little bit. And I don't see the problem, but so that was a big thing is the size of it, but also budget, of course, which we knew going into this. 400 people is not cheap. And I also didn't want to be cheap. So we set an overall budget and then we had a little bit of wiggle room with everything. And we are very blessed that so far, like we are very under budget. Ask me about 2 months outside the wedding where I'm at then. But so it's been a lot of fun.
I guess for me, just that the vendors are professional in what they do. So I'm not like stressed out about that the day of the wedding, like, oh my gosh, where are these people? Blah, 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 blah. So I guess that's my main reason.
Yeah. So this question came in from one of our vendors. They want to know, what was your budget and were you able to stay at it? Yolanda?
That's a weird question for me. I mean, okay, so my budget was 30 and I stayed at it, but I had favors. So what I spent was probably more like 35 to 40, if that makes sense.
Our budget is around 25. We are super thankful and blessed that our parents are helping us out. And we right now are staying at our budget and hopefully going to be a little bit below.
That's great. Mine is between 15 and 18. And so far we've been able to stay under the budget and I'm still feeling like really excited about it, which is cool because the budget is a little bit lower than some people's, but the vendors that we've been communicating with they've been above and beyond like kind and being willing to be flexible with certain things. And yeah, it's been nice.
With my budget, and I kind of feel the same boat, like with favors and a very close-knit family and friends. We've had a lot of like help with volunteering and stuff about things, but surprising our budget is $10,000 to $12,000. Me and my fiance are paying for all of it, majority of it, and so we are very like stern on it. But like I said, we have been a little flexible on other things. So right now we are sitting under our budget, and like I said, we have everything booked but the flowers.
Our budget is $25,000, but we're definitely going under, which is amazing, just because we know a lot of our vendors and they're helping us out a lot. So.
One more question coming from our vendors is, let's talk about your dress. Did you buy your dress locally, and what did you spend on your dress?
I'll start. I just got my dress last weekend or Saturday, so super excited about that. I went to Bridal and Formal in Cincinnati. I feel like Cincinnati Bridal District is very well known, but I had multiple friends and family members go there and have such a good experience. And then at work right now, just on the night shift, there's 5 of us all getting engaged within 6 months or getting married within 6 months. So it's been kind of fun. And 3 of those girls already went to Bridal and Formal as well. I went in with a budget of $2,000 for my dress. And I tend to find things that are a little over budget, especially when it comes to clothes. That is one thing. I'm my mom's only daughter, so she wanted to pay for that for me. So I was trying to be very mindful and respectful of that. And with my dress and my veil, it was actually $1,500.
That's great. That's really good. Yeah. With a veil. I also did the Reading Bridal District route as well. So I made appointments at some of the smaller shops instead of like the Bridal and Formal Wendy's. Just, I've been in there before, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I got my dress from Carrie Caribou, and my budget going in, I wanted to stay around 1,500, and we did, I think it was 1,600, 1,700, so fairly close. I had a great experience at all the places I went. They were all very willing to try to show me things within my budget and not try to show me something that was way out of it that I fell in love with and then felt terrible that I wasn't going to be able to get. So I really enjoyed the experience, and we stayed close to budget.
I also went to the Reading Bridal District. I went to a lot of the smaller shops like Carrie beforehand, but I don't think my fiance is watching this. I really wanted a halter dress. And I found that Cincinnati apparently is not a good market for a halter dress. So if there are any bridal stores out there, get a halter dress. I think I tried on every single halter dress in all of Bridal District. I ended up at Bridal Informal because they just had a really beautiful like high neck one. And my budget was $15, and we were a little bit below. And then I got my veil on Amazon for like $10, and it was great.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I stuck within my budget.
I did without the veil because of cost.
Yeah.
That was mine doing it. I was like, we'll see how much it is before I agree to a veil.
That's great. Yeah, my budget was about $1,000. I was hoping to go under it, and I ended up falling in love with a dress that was a little bit over budget, but it felt really good about it because they marked it down a ton for me, which is super nice. So I felt like I was getting a good deal. I was like, oh, what a deal.
Yep.
I went to Lace, and that's where I got my dress. It was the third dress I tried on, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not going anywhere else. This is it. But my budget was $2,000, and I think I got it for $1,700. So yeah, I got to deal with that one.
That's great. And actually, I think my dress was the first one I tried on, but I was like, no, I'm going to search for all of the stores. So I went through all of the Bridal District stores. It was a horrible long day, but it was so much fun. I made my grandmas, two of my grandmas come with me, and my sister, my mom, and it was an experience. But you know, at the end of the day, my mom was like, I can't believe you made us go to all of these stores, and it was the first dress you tried on. But so that's nice that you stopped there.
But it's your day, right?
It's my day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to settle.
Right.
Yeah.
One more question from our vendors. When contacting a vendor, how quick do you want pricing?
I would say I'm very different. I work night shifts, so I felt like I contacted a lot of vendors at like 2 a.m. and they're probably like, this girl's crazy. But I would say within 24 hours, because some places I got responses like, yeah, I'll send you an email. And it was like 4 days later. And I was like, yeah, I already booked somebody else. Just because, and I don't like coming off of COVID plays a huge thing into this. I was just so worried that all these people from 2020 pushed their wedding back and kept the vendors, and so they were already going to be booked out. And then October is a big month, and October 2nd I have found lots of brides and stuff that are getting married that day. When I went to a wedding show and talked to a cake company, they had 7 weddings on October 2nd, and so they're like, we can't do any more cakes on that day. But so that, I would say 24 hours for me is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I would say mine's probably about the same, like up to 2 days maybe. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I need to know, and like it could be taken up, the next day. Like, so yeah, between a day and 2 days.
And having the pricing in the first conversation as opposed to just, well, here's different packages and leaving the pricing out, that can be frustrating, especially if you have allotted a certain amount of money for that specific service. You want to know, can I even work with this person or not? Because it may or may not fit in the budget. So I think not, putting too much information out there of just, here's all the services and potential custom packages without at least price ranges or money, like budget in that first conversation. I think that's important.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of that. That was really important to me too. Just because I allotted certain time periods for when I wanted to get things done. I had more than a year to plan my wedding, which was super exciting. But I'm finishing my last semester of school right now. And so because I was having this, my master's program year, and I was feeling overwhelmed, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have so many things going on. So I wanted to plan it all throughout the summer that I first got engaged. So because I wanted to get it done in like 3 months, I would allot time for myself to send out mass emails, like different ones, and I look and do all this research. But if I had a vendor who took me more than 2 days, I was like, well, I'm assuming you're booked because you aren't responding. So that was for me really important.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think the hardest thing for me was with photographer and videographers. They wouldn't put their pricing on, or they'd be like, oh, it's around 3,000. Well, I mean, I am like you, like very A-type personality, detailed person. So I wanted to have a chat with 10 different photographers and videographers before I found my person. And for me to waste an entire like hour chat with you, and knowing that you're $8,000, like way out of my price range, wasn't helpful. So definitely like having the date available and the price, initial contact was huge.
And I also found, since I used the knot, I know a lot of people do use the knot, but they don't put their prices on there. I found for those that did put their prices on there, I was way more interested in, just because I didn't want to be misled, and I wanted to have something like, okay, I know I'm going to enjoy these people because not only do I like, whether it's their pictures or their food or certain things I was interested in at first glance, I also knew that it would be somewhat within my price range. So
Yeah, just like a side note with that too. I found a lot of places don't put their prices out, and I understand things can vary, but giving me a rough estimate, even if it's on the high end starting out, that's fine, because then you can look at it and decide like, okay, maybe if I talk to them because I don't want these options, we can talk about a price from there. But like my photographer, same thing. I was very like, I need a price. And luckily they were very upfront. This is what it is. This is what we do. And then she emailed me back and she said, we are available that day, but I have 3 people pending that haven't responded yet. And I immediately emailed back. I said, well, don't say yes to me because I will take it. And instantly like deposit paid and we were good. But I was like, oh my gosh, she could have been lying to me just to get me to book, but like, that's fine. It worked so well.
The upfrontness about like who is in line, or like if there's other people in conversation, talking to them, that was helpful.
Sorry to piggyback, I agree with that, except for we did do a venue tour once and they wanted us to make that decision like that night. We only had like 30 minutes to go and look at the venue, and my dad wasn't even there. And they said that they had 3 tours the next day, and I needed to tell them that night before midnight if they would cancel their tours the next day or not. And so we just said we'll pass, because we couldn't decide that quickly without having like my dad, and then my fiance's parents weren't there either. And so that felt like it put a ton of pressure on us, and it was not a good pressure.
I wanted to ask, how did you do most of your interacting with your vendors? Was it phone calls? Did you spend a lot of time in email? Were you using like the Knot services where you can go back and forth inside the Knot with messaging? But I guess what was maybe your way of communicating the most with your vendors?
I'd say email.
Email.
Yeah.
I didn't make a whole separate email, but like I definitely made a folder, and everybody I emailed like went to that folder, and then so I know where everybody's at and can get to it quickly. And that was probably, it still is really nice, because sometimes I'm like, wait, what'd they say? And I can go to the folder and it's organized and all in one place.
I did a separate email, like our hashtag, I put that as a Gmail, and it has been awesome to have like a whole separate email for everything. And then I have my folders for my different vendors in that. And it's funny too, because then people kind of remember it, because it's not a regular email address. It's kind of funny. So I think it really helped me stay organized. And a lot of them were email or like Instagram messages that ended up in email. But email was great just because I could always go back to it and refer.
Email and texting.
Yeah, I used the Knot a lot, and then it would transition to email, which I appreciated, as long as they were quick to pretty much email back, which was nice. And then I also found that for a lot of places, when I got down to like my final 2, I really just wanted to see them either in person, or whether that was, if photographer, I not only wanted to see their work, but I also wanted to have a conversation with them and kind of see their face. So I also did a lot of Zoom calls, just because for me, if for things like that, for specifically photographers, I wanted to know, who are you as a person, and you can actually mesh well with the people that I'm bringing with me to the party, because that can be fun. Yeah,
I agree.
I wish I would have thought of that hashtag email. It's such a good idea. Like now.
Certainly there are annoying vendors out there that we're associated with. But did you encounter a annoying vendor, and what was it that was annoying about them?
And don't maybe say names, but right.
I don't think
you have to say the name, but maybe your experience about
Yeah, I don't think that I was annoyed, honestly, with any of my vendors. I feel like they all communicated well. But again, I had some type of connection with them prior to booking. So I felt like I already knew their personalities. I knew that they had everything taken care of. So I felt like I had a really good experience.
I would say maybe not like annoying with like my vendors or the couple I've contacted with. But like the bridal shows, you would fill out the email card or whatnot, and some of them were like persistent Patty. And I was like, okay, I was just trying to get the free mug. Sorry. But like that was sometimes a little like, or like I would email them back like, no, thank you. And they'd be like, well, if you're like, are you sure? Are you? And I'm like, well, no means no. And so sometimes like at the bridal shows, a few people I was like, they were very on top of it, which I respect, but I feel like they would cross over once even when you say no and still send you like the ads and stuff like, hey, we're doing this. Are you sure? So that was a little bit annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that since I'm having a morning wedding, I had a lot of vendors who were like automatically no, like, no, we're not going to do that. We don't, we either don't do that food or we don't do like, oh, I actually only do like evenings because they get a lot more hours out of it, or they get a lot more, money. And so I just had a lot of people, or just a few people when I was either emailing or messaging specifically who were like, no, we're not interested. I was like, oh, okay. Like it was at least it was nice that they were upfront about it, but I did find it a little frustrating sometimes because it felt like there wasn't a conversation at hand, but.
I had one where it was, I think, after a bridal show, and they sent an email to all like 800 of us and put all of our emails in there. And I thought that was really disrespectful. And so I immediately emailed back and was like, hey, just like for professional tip, like do not share everybody's email with everybody else in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't appreciate that. And then the ones that you would unsubscribe from their like Constant Contact or MailChimp, and then they would put you back on a list. Like that was a little bit annoying. But other than that, I mean, just the persistence, it's like, you can't hate them because, I mean, I'm in sales too. I get it. You have to be persistent at a certain point. But if I say that I've already booked that vendor, then at that point you can kind of let it go.
So was there a vendor that you maybe interacted with and you knew right away it was a no? And what was the reason why it was a no right away?
I talked to, I can't remember what kind of vendor she was, but I walked up and she's like, hey, like, when's your wedding, da, da, da. And it had nothing to do with a dress, but she said, oh, do you have your dress? You're getting married October 2nd, so do you have your dress? And I was like, no. And she's like, seriously? She's like, that's not very smart. You better get on it. And just like that kind of like really jarred me because I get like I was a bit in a time crunch, but at the same time I was like, it's kind of my choice. Like, and I was kind of pushing back just a little bit to like get more people in because of COVID. And so like, even though like I wasn't really interested, but that totally, I was like, nope, done. And even my grandma was like, that lady was rude. So I was like, well, if grandma says it, then we're done.
Yeah, because I had a whole day where it was just like wedding shop after wedding shop, and specifically with my dress, I went to a lot of places, and I went to one place in particular, and I had a lot of people ask like, oh, have you found any dresses that you're interested in so far? Do you have any pictures? And I went to one place and the lady asked that question and it was fine. And I was like, yeah, I think I found, this similar style. What do you think? And she was like, that dress looks horrible. And it was one of my favorite dresses. And she was like, it does not suit you or your body type. And I was like, and I just felt like it wasn't a conversation of like, oh, I think that maybe this style might be more, better for your physique. It wasn't maybe in an uplifting or an even encouraging way. It was more like a buy this dress because that dress is bad. So it just felt very unprofessional. Yeah. So that was automatic no. My grandmas were upset. They were both with me. They were like, you can't tell my granddaughter this. It was so much fun because usually it's a fun when we're all together. But it was a fun end of the day. So
I actually, just side note, I had a bridal store do that to me. Like we went to walk up, like I didn't know, this is before I even went bridal like dress shopping, trying to just get an idea of what it was because I had no idea what I was looking for. We walked up to the door and this lady busted out the door and she's like, "Can I help you? Do you have an appointment?" And we're like, "Oh no, we were walking in, just asked a few questions." And she's like, "Well, due to COVID, we're only allowed one person in the store." It was a very large store. It was in the wedding district. And I just looked at her. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." She's like, "I can give you a business card, but you have to call and make an appointment." But to the fact that she just pretty much slammed the door like in our face, I felt like I was totally like, "Nope, we're not going back." Like she could have been like, "Hey, due to COVID, we can have one person. We have somebody in here right now. If you want to step in the doorway," like she wouldn't let us in the doorway at all. Like she came out to the sidewalk and was like, "Nope, can't come in." And so that was a little like, "No, thank you."
Yeah, people's tones, I think, is for me what does it for me.
So tones, maybe people's opinions about what you're doing. Like you don't really care. You're just wanting to know whether or not they're willing to work with you or not.
Yeah.
Cool. We talked a little bit about budget. Is there a vendor you're choosing not to hire because you've realized it's just not going to make it in the budget? So you've decided, it's something I would maybe want, but just I can't afford it. So I'm going to pass on that one.
So we didn't originally book a videographer because I really, really wanted it. And I got a quote from the one person that I was looking to work with, and it just didn't fit in the budget. And, I had a talk with my husband, fiance at that point, and he didn't, really because he didn't realize the value of having a video, but he was just like, "I don't want to spend that kind of money on that." So that was one thing that we originally said, we're just going to have to do without. And if in the end we have extra money, then we'll go ahead and book somebody. But luckily I had a coworker that does videography as a hobby on the side that offered to do it for me. And at that point I didn't have extra money in the budget. So I just said, I guess that's gonna be better than not doing it. And it actually ended up turning out really great. But that was one thing that we had to take out because of budget.
Mine's the same thing as videographer. Like I really want one, but the people that I've talked to and messaged, and I understand it's a lot of work. I don't know it, so I'm not going to act like I know what they're doing. But some of them, I'm like, "Are you serious? You're going to give me a 10 to 12 minute video for $4,000 and stuff like that." And so that was really hard to try to be like, I want one, but I can't really just justify that kind of money for it. And the same thing, if it comes down to it and we have the money of the means, I would love to do it, but it's something we had to put on the back burner.
We watch our highlight video all the time, so I will say that I'm glad that we have it. I'm glad that we got it done, but I guess if I didn't have it, I would have missed it. But I really am happy that we had a video at the end of the day because we've shared it with so much family that couldn't come because of COVID, because we did a separate ceremony video and then a highlight of the whole reception, and we've watched it a ton of times.
TikTok jarred me too. I mean, TikTok has made me think I need all these extra stuff too. But videography, I see those and I was like, those are so cool.
Yeah. I would actually piggyback as well. Videography did not make it into our final, at least right now, what fits into the budget. And I think that's primarily because in my opinion, when it comes to videography, I want somebody it's going to look really nice. And so it's hard because people that were in my budget, I didn't necessarily love their videos that they would have, whether that was a short clip or a long clip, or maybe they didn't have, the technology to get that clear video, and I understand where, they're at. But at the same time, I was like, well, I'm not going to pay, $2,000 for a video that I'm not going to adore, and then I was like, well, then it should be more. And it became a battle of, my fiance and I, we just don't value it at this point. We want to spend more money on the food, or whether that's on the people helping out with the food or whatever that is. So.
For me, luckily we found a package, a video and photographer package together. It's a husband-wife team, and that's what I was going in for and wanting, just because I've done wedding photography in the past myself. I was a second shooter. So I was really, really particular about my photographer, videographer, and we found a great couple. But the thing for me that we're leaving out is a lot of the stationery. I did not realize how much paper costs. It's insane. So I would say we're just doing the online invitations. And I mean, we're going to send out a little card that we're just printing at like Walgreens or something. But I did not realize how much the beautiful invitations are. And I really wanted like a full on like letterpress, like gold foil, and it just is not feasible. So
I sent out my wedding invites even though they had the wrong location because of COVID, because I spent so much money on them. So
You're
I just
like,
like put
"It
an
has to make
insert stating like location is changing, but I want you to see these beautiful invites I spent all this money on, so you're getting it anyways. So yeah, the location and times of the day were all completely wrong. Dates the same, everything else changed. They still got them for sure.
We're not doing save the dates because of that. And like, imagine sending 400 save the dates and 400 invitations, and then also 150 bridal shower invitations.
yeah.
We were budgeting over $1,000 on paper.
Yep.
I was like, nah, I'll text you.
Laura, did you have anything to say about any of that?
Nope, I'm good.
From our vendors, what did you do at your wedding to personalize it to you in like table favors or decor, or what were those extra touches that made it about you?
Lots of pink. Even though I'm wearing black right now, but yeah, just the colors, I think. And I'm very old school, old fashioned. So I think the old Hollywood theme. And also we're getting a magician during cocktail hour, which I'm really excited about. So I just want something that all the guests will have fun with, since it's been almost a year and a half now that we haven't seen each other. So I just want everyone to have fun and have a good time.
That's great.
I would say for my wedding, one thing that like me and my fiance both talked about is like neither of us really like cake. So we're actually doing 60 homemade pies that my grandma's doing. And then another thing is we are allowing kids. If you want to bring all 12 of your kids, just let us know in advance. But we are doing for the kids specifically bounce castle, game and coloring area, Chick-fil-A nuggets, and just like really incorporating them. I come from a very large family. He does too. And now we have lots of friends with kids, and it just doesn't seem right to say, like for us to say like, no, none of you can bring your kids. So that's something special to us. We'll see how that goes. I know we're drawing on a fine line, but also we're both very laid back people, and kids are going to be kids. So
I didn't do anything too crazy. I mean, we did a champagne welcome. I love champagne and could drink it every week. And so I bought lots of it and shared it with everybody. And then also my husband's family is from Pittsburgh. So the traditional cookie buffet is something that we added in addition to our cake. And because of COVID, we pre-boxed them all. So, you know, we had 200 little boxes of homemade cookies between some of my bridesmaids and some of his family. So it was nice to have his mom kind of lead that up and incorporate that, because that was important to them. So those were like little things. Otherwise, for me, I just wanted everyone to have the best time, and because I like to have the best time. So that's what I did. So that was me.
For us, we are really trying to incorporate God in all aspects of our wedding, including the reception. So we're getting little handheld like prayer crosses as like the table place, like they're gonna have their name on them, and they're gonna be on all their table spots that they can like take home with them. And then instead of like an altar or an arch, we are doing a cross, and then it's also going to be our guest book. And so they're gonna write their prayers or their names on the cross, and then we're gonna put it in our house, hopefully. And so, yeah, we're just trying to incorporate God, and his dad's also the one marrying us. So we're really excited about that.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I have a mix. It's a lot of personalization because it's a morning wedding already. It's a little different. So we have like a lot of, you know, random things, like we're having a breakfast buffet, and we're having, instead of we're doing traditional cake, we're going to cut a little cake, and then we're going to have like little muffins, and we're going to have cinnamon rolls and a lot of other like random sweets that are kind of morning-ish, and some angel cake on like some skewers. They're going to be really cute. So that comes like with a lot of personalization in itself. But then additionally, I also want to incorporate a lot about like God and our faith and just different values that we have. And I really love having really deep and good conversations with people. So what we're doing is we're having like little conversation things or questions people can ask each other at the tables if they don't know each other. That way they can get to know people and, I don't know, hopefully walk away with a good connection. So, yeah.
I love that. All very different. All right, we are getting close to the end of our hour. Is there anything else you guys just wanted to share about your planning process or what you've done, or just anything you want to share about what you've enjoyed about this experience of planning your weddings?
It goes by very fast. So for you guys, the day of, just try to be as present as possible, because that was hard for me, and I tried really hard, and I enjoyed it and I loved it, but it goes by so fast, and I know you hear it, but it does. And the whole process for me was great. I loved it. I wish I could do it again, but I don't have the money for it, so.
I feel like if it stresses you out a lot, like being able to take a step back, because I found certain things like have really flustered me, and I was like, okay, this is supposed to be fun. Like this is supposed to be like your big day, and you're supposed to enjoy things and getting to the big day. So if it's becoming more of a hassle, an issue, at least me personally, I call somebody and I'm like, this is your issue now, because I can't do this anymore. Kirsten's gotten those texts. And so, but be able to take a step back and realize like some things are not worth the stress. I feel like that's a big thing.
Just having good vendors help that too, because you can go back to your vendors and they should be willing and able to answer questions that have to do with their service, or a lot of times they'll even give you advice on other areas too if you have a good relationship with them. So I think it helps just having great vendors that you can talk to outside of just, I've booked with you, I'll talk to you in a couple months, but at least casually being able to ask some questions and feeling comfortable with them giving you advice too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had a vendor that said, okay, well, the next time we'll talk is 3 weeks before your wedding. And I was like, no, I'm going to call you like 3 months before and 2 months before and a month before. Like, I don't want you to forget about me. But that's just me.
I would say I think sometimes kindness is very underrated, and I think that it is huge. And I think specifically with the vendors that I've chosen to work with, I really want them to be kind. I want them to be like, if they see that I'm bringing along my grandma, say hi to my grandma and, introduce yourself, make her feel like she's a part of the experience. And I would say that's for me, like, again, what draws the line between, being a professional and personable, or, saying that I'm only in it for the bride, because not every bride wants it to be all about her. Sometimes it's about like her and her vision with her family, or her and her vision with, how does she want people to enjoy themselves at the party? So that for me is the biggest thing that I'd say was important to me.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I think you guys have been amazing and very articulate. And I think this has been helpful information to all of us that are working in the wedding industry. Like we do every month, we love to give a giveaway. And so today we had one of our chat hosts randomly pick a person. So today, Liz Perkins is our winner. And the winner today is receiving a spot in our next PWG bridal show, wedding show. So Rhonda or I will get connected with you, and we will make sure that you get all the details, but you have won a prize today that is of great value. So you'll be at the next bridal show, and hopefully some of these tips these girls have offered today will be helpful and beneficial. So Rhonda's clapping for you. I can see her on the screen. So, Greg, anything else we need to say?
I don't think so. We are here to help you grow your business in whatever avenue we can help you with, be it a listing with Perfect Wedding Guide or the eventconnections.com. be it email campaigns or social media blowouts to get your name in front of people. That's what we do. That's why we're here. That's why we do this, is to help you as a vendor. It's been great. Ladies, thank you.
These are awesome.
A big round of applause for these ladies, guys.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations too. So very exciting for all of you.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks again. We'll see you the second Wednesday in May, again virtually, and hopefully in June we'll be live in person. Have a great afternoon. God bless.